Is Stellar yet another pump and dump? Is XLM just going up because the market makers are manipulating, or is there something fundamental going on? There are actually news. Stellar is integrating with traditional finance more, as in there might be tokenized assets very soon on the blockchain. The Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation is now integrating Stellar to tokenized assets. Now in this video we're going to zoom out. We're going to look at the data most people aren't considering to try to figure out where the price is headed from here. What are the tokenomics? What are the drivers of demand and supply? Let's have a look at the on-chain data, the data most people are not considering. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto game for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago, and I did this mainly through active trading, through buying and selling various cryptocurrencies. On average, I outperformed buying and holding Bitcoin by 2% per month. This is the return over the last 5 years, and here is the monthly alpha. Not every month is positive, but what counts is the long term. 2 years ago, I started to publish my trades in real time. On average, that made 5.3% over the course of 168 trades, and that's the performance since then. Every single trade is published in real time and is recorded over here. And so in this video, I want to share the data that helps me personally decide whether or not to buy or sell a cryptocurrency. Let's have a look at XLM. Let's have a look at Stellar. Now, Stellar's narrative is changing over time. It's not just all about tokenized assets. It's also about DeFi. It's also about global payments. The question really is, where is the edge of that blockchain? Here's a Twitter post by the DTCC announcing the cooperation with Stellar. Here is the same post by Stellar themselves. And of course, influencers are already commenting on that partnership, some just with random memes, and others are using data. Now what we see over here, that's the number of circulating XLM tokens over time. So this is the XLM market cap divided by the XLM price. Stellar is an inflating cryptocurrency. Over the course of the last 5 years, the supply grew by roughly 8%. A bit less than that. Now, most cryptocurrencies have an expanding supply, even Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's inflation rate is at 0.8%, so 1/10 of Stellar's. Stellar has to grow very quickly in demand in order to offset all of that supply expansion. This is the Stellar price in US dollars. There seems to be an invisible ceiling, but there's also a base that's appreciating over time, and we are close to that base with a potential upside of 180% from here. Now, the issue with charts like this is that there's a lot of correlation within crypto, right? When Bitcoin goes up, most altcoins go up as well. When Bitcoin crashes, the altcoins come down with it. So really what we're interested in is relative performance. How does Stellar do relative to Bitcoin, relative to the rest of the altcoin market? When does it outperform? When does it underperform? And what degree of under or outperformance do we see? This here then is Stellar relative to the others market cap. Now the others market cap is all the altcoins that are not in the top 10. This tends to go down over time, as in Stellar underperformed the average altcoin by 99%. It doesn't look as bad because this is a logarithmic scale, but have a look at this. This is the linear scale. So really XLM did very, very poorly. So that's versus the rest of the altcoins. Here is the same versus Bitcoin. And then the question really is it worth to take on this additional risk of buying Stellar? When maybe at another 50% we would bounce again and potentially sell off again. Stellar tends to rally very quickly, potentially due to short squeezes, and then deflates long term. The reason why most altcoins tend to go down versus Bitcoin long term is because new tokens hit the market. On average, several 100 million worth of tokens every single week. If there's not the same kind of demand, then of course those assets on average have to come down. And that's exactly what happened with Stellar over the long term as well. Now there's always two sides here, right? There is the supply expansion, but there's also the demand. And so if the demand grows quicker than say 8% per annum, then Stellar can potentially going forward outperform again. Now let's have a look at the data. This here is the TVL, the total value locked, the capital that's currently on the Stellar chain. This actually tends to go up over time. That's very positive. That's measured in US dollars. Here's the same measured in XLM directly. That is what we want to see. Now, other metrics on Stellar don't look that great, unfortunately. This is the decentralized exchange trading volume over time. It comes in spikes. It's currently relatively low. So there's clearly not an increase in trading volume on the Stellar blockchain. Here is the number of stablecoins over time. This is very erratic, also not necessarily constant growth. And so token inflation really matters. Check out the long-term price chart. It seems like the 60 cents is the invisible ceiling, and the recent peaks have been lower compared to the prior ones. But check out the market cap chart. Here the recent peaks were actually higher compared to Stellar's early history. So the difference in those price peaks is 100% just token inflation. Now this also gives us the potential upper ceiling for Stellar, at least if the adoption doesn't grow as quicker. And that's a 3x from here, right? 15 billion, that's where it tended to turn around. That would put the Stellar price currently at 45 cents, roughly. So it would not turn around at 60 cents anymore because of the token inflation. 45 cents might already be the ceiling. Now the central question with rallies like this is always, is this just short-term speculation? Are people currently betting on XLM using leverage, using the perpetual futures, using the derivatives market? Or are people actually buying on the spot market, planning to hold long term? Let's have a look at the data. So in the last 24 hours, we saw roughly 50 million worth of trading volume on the spot market. On the perpetual futures market, we saw roughly 5 times that. Yes, that's more than on spot, but the ratio, a 5x of perp relative to spot, isn't really that bad. Also, with the recent rally, we don't see a lot of liquidations. So it's very unlikely that the current rally is fueled by short liquidations, by short-term manipulation. The same is true for the funding rates. The funding rates used to be more positive in the past. Now they are relatively balanced. And really, if there was a lot of short-term speculation, the open interest would be going up. So that's the amount of bets on the XLM price. It is not going up, rather the opposite. And there is positive correlation between the price and open interest. When more people speculate with perpetual futures on a price, the price tends to go up, and that's when the price tends to be inflated. Currently, open interest is very low, and so we might not yet be at elevated prices. We might actually have a possibility of reaching the 15 billion from here. This is clearly not a short-term pump and dump induced by the perpetual futures market. The same can be said here with the trading volume. The trading volume did not spike at all. And so let's see if we can time this market somewhat. So this is Bitcoin Strategy Analytics. This is also available to the premium members. This is a backtesting platform with tutorial videos explaining everything. And what I try to find out is the best golden versus death crosses for Stellar. So we've got a slow moving average, we've got a fast moving average. The best combination historically had been the 2-day and 8-day simple moving average. So that's then how that looks like on a live chart. We got our golden cross on the 23rd of May. So that's when the shorter moving average crossed the longer moving average. And since then, we got our massive rally. How well does this approach work over time? The answer is very well. Have a look at the value measured in Stellar. This is a logarithmic scale. So this performs very well, very consistently, even when we are including the trading fees, right? So the 0.05%, that's perpetual futures trading fees plus 11% funding fees. And that's all included. Still, following that trading strategy, the 2-day and 8-day simple moving average gives more than 80 percentage points additional alpha per year. To me, this rally looks very healthy. It looks like Stellar has potential to perform further, potentially a 2 to 3x from here. This might get put into question once we see a death cross though. So if the rally does not continue and the 2-day simple moving average crosses below the 8-day simple moving average again, then maybe it makes sense to be more cautious short term. The indicator simply worked too well in the past. But right now we are very far away from a death cross, rather the opposite. We are expanding the distance of the 2-day SMA to the 8-day SMA. But it is a good signal to potentially exit. We have seen our similar rallies in the past, and whenever we got that death cross, that was the right time to rather exit. And so I think this is the right approach for Stellar again. I like those kind of backtests. They help me very much to time those entries and exits for my personal trading as well. Again, all of those trades are 100% documented, right? You can verify this. Here, this is the last trade that we closed, Luna Classic. You can just click on those dates and then you get the corresponding messages posted over here as well, right? I'm shorting Luna Classic. That was on the 12th of May. And then subsequently, again, using that moving average approach, we just optimized that. We closed on the 26th of May. And so I'm not shorting Stellar right now, but if we were to hit the 15 billion again, and then we get a death cross, I think that would be a quite interesting opportunity. But we first have to hit our 45, 48 cents until that becomes attractive. By the way, if you're interested in trying out Premium, there's also a 7-day money back guarantee. So in case you don't like it, just message me here to this email address within the first 7 days and I'll refund you 100%. Once you join, I will also send you my favorite trade, which I think has a very high likelihood of making you money in the next 4 weeks. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time here on YouTube or see you on Premium. Link to Premium pops up here on the screen as well. See you next time. Cheers.